Today's review is going to be the 1982 Sam Raimi cult classic, The Evil Dead.
Yes, the beginning of Sam Raimi's career and Sam Raimi's fetish for screaming women in film.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, and for abusing his actors. Not actually doing it, but...
Except for Bruce Campbell. He's probably beer buddies with him right about now.
Yeah, but they were childhood friends, for God's sakes.
Yeah, exactly. Beer buddies.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, this is a movie that kind of was a game changer.
For a lot of people, yeah.
It definitely, along with Halloween, it definitely proved that Halloween films can be shot on a crap budget and still come out as fairly well made and successful in the process.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. At the time, it was different from all the horror movies. I mean, yeah, you got people running around with knives and shit, but you don't see them being possessed by while doing that.
It's weird because this film really came out as basically a passion project from Bruce and Sam, and even Ted, Sam's little brother.
I keep forgetting his name. Yeah, that is Ted. That's right.
And yeah, what the thing was, because they grew up as kids basically in Michigan, I think what the idea was, they were going to start their own kind of horror company. It was Sam was going to direct the films, Bruce would star in them all because he was the most attractive out of all of them, and Ted was going to produce all of them pretty much.
Nice.
That's how it was going to go pretty much.
That did definitely go on for a while.
Totally.
And they all knew exactly what they wanted out of the film, but unfortunately some of the other actors didn't quite get the memo. Because it's, as you expect, if I explain the plot of this film, you're probably never going to want to touch it with a 10-foot pole, because the plot of this film is basically a bunch of dumb teenagers do dumb things and get in a dumb cabin in the middle of the woods, so they do more dumb things in the basement. Talk more about that later. And they read a book out loud for some dumb reason so they can die in dumb ways to spooky evil creatures. I mean, sounds like every other horror movie, right?
This is pretty much what inspired every other horror movie, pretty much.
Yeah, to be fair. Like, and all those cabin in the woods horror stories, like Cabin Fever and
Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods. Might come up later on in a review. Who knows?
And Friday the 13th, and pretty much a whole bunch of other things afterwards.
Yep, gotta love them horny teenagers. But Bruce Campbell in the film, like, I feel like he's the only one who's having fun. It's like that Futurama episode, what was it? Futurama episode, crap. It's like the Futurama episode of Oktoberfest, but in the future Oktoberfest is this really boring event, and Fry's the only one trying to have a good time and getting drunk. I feel like that's Bruce Campbell in this movie in a nutshell. And see why Sam Raimi kind of saw that and said, you're gonna take up 80% of the screen time in the Evil Dead.
It's sort of like when I saw like Evil Dead and seeing all the other actors being boring and shit. Like it's like in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Why aren't you guys having a good time?
I specifically demanded it.
I could definitely see like how it kind of it's not a comic movie by any means. It definitely tries to take itself seriously, but it does have a bit of a comic feel to it at times.
There is a reason for that, actually. Apparently, not a lot of people know this, but Sam Raimi was really big into the Three Stooges. Like, he loves the Three Stooges so much. He likes incorporating a lot of their gags into their stuff.
Yeah, I could definitely.
And with Cabin in the Woods, he incorporated a very particular thing. It was from the episode A Plumbing We Will Go. Now, in that episode, there's a scene where they get the water into a light bulb. I was thinking, that doesn't make sense. How does that work? But, strangely enough, Sam Raimi loved that scene so much that he incorporated with the blood coming into the light bulb. And that's where it comes from, pretty much.
I could definitely see, like, especially in the sequel, the influences of the Three Stooges. I have expected in the sequel Larry, Curly, and Moe to smack Bruce Campbell around and call him an idiot for...
All right, Muttonhead, we gotta do this, and we gotta do this quick.
While I eat the cigarette and cigar sandwich.
Something like that, yeah. Wasn't this sort of based on a short film that Sam Raimi made before this?
Yeah, I don't remember the
I think it was
name.
called something Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead. Or
No, that was the Book of the Dead was originally the title for the Evil Dead.
But yeah, they wanted to basically pique investors' interest with that, so they shot that little short film. That got people interested, and then they got enough money to shoot an actual film, which is weird because I can't remember where was the cabin even located. Like they seem to shoot some scenes in Tennessee, and then other scenes in.
I think they shot it in their hometown
Yeah.
in Michigan.
Michigan, yeah.
Yeah. Talk about the look of the film overall, because I feel like how it was shot and the moody atmosphere of the film and the creepy soundtrack too, like really does look like they tried to add a lot of shine and polish to an otherwise dumb story.
But they knew it was a dumb story, so they're not trying to cover up that fact.
No, not necessarily, but they definitely did try to make it look as good as they possibly could with the money they had, and it's definitely a lot to appreciate there. And like, including those POV demonic shots, like I could have a whole movie of just those POV shots and it would honestly be a genuinely creepy horror experience.
Well, yeah, weren't like most of them. The one near the end I know was done from motorbike, but what about the rest of them kind of thing?
Well, it was like they do it like on like some sort of like board.
Did they have to
board device? Yeah.
How did they get the camera to stay still on? Did they
I think they used like a strap or something.
Yeah, they just strapped it to the cinematographer. I'm pretty sure.
So, kind of like what Ash does later in the sequels.
Except with a chainsaw.
Chainsaw hand, yeah. If there's one scene that you didn't really like, what would it be?
Nice. I mean, for off the top, there are like long bouts of exposition that I really didn't like, and they ended up really slowing the film down.
Yeah.
Especially since it's only 85 minutes long. It's like, what are you guys doing? We don't have time for this crap. Get moving with the plot already. And it really kills the atmosphere at times as well when the characters just explain to us what's happening. You know, like in the opening scene when they're just like, oh, where's this cabin? Oh, I've heard about that cabin. Wasn't it abandoned? How much did it cost for that abandoned cabin? I said abandoned.
It's nothing, don't worry.
You tried.
Yeah.
But imagine in the opening of The Shining, instead of those beautiful overhead shots on the way to the Overlook Hotel, it was just a close-up of Jack Nicholson on the phone saying, yeah, honey, I'm on my way to the hotel. Yeah, it's located 30 minutes out of the city.
Something like that.
Yeah, they're asking me to... They won't work, so it doesn't really work in the opening of The Evil Dead, and moments like that really slowed down the film. And of course, there's the awkward tree hentai scene later on in the film.
That is the one scene I really couldn't stand watching, and even today, Sam Raimi still admits that he regrets filming that scene. If he had the time, he would have taken it out.
So why'd they even bring that back for the remake?
Titillation, that's why.
Yeah, shocking the audience in the easiest ways possible. It seems to be the norm.
So is it the guy raping a
No,
It's a tree.
It's a tree raping a girl.
And the actress was just shocked.
tree-
Alright, Rule 34, get working on that. Chop, chop.
The tree just did a Me Too on the girl.
Yeah.
That's fucked.
Very.
It was the 80s, they got away with that shit.
They got away with way too much shitting.
Oh, and the movie was co-edited or assisted edited or whatnot. You can let me know in the comment section or whatever. It was done by another future filmmaker.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, who?
It was one of the Coen brothers.
What?
Yep.
I have to admit, my biggest issue with this Evil Dead and the second Evil Dead as well is that it really does feel like it's just building up to a sequel. Like, it's not very long, they give a lot of exposition about details behind the Necronomicon. That'll probably show up later, and it does. And of course, there's the famous sequel bait ending where Bruce Campbell screams into the camera.
That's like 90% of his acting is screaming.
And that was my biggest problem with Evil Dead 2, is that it feels like it's setting up a sequel. And for an 80s low-budget horror movie, that's kind of disappointing that they had to go that route.
Kind of, but
hey, without the ending of the Evil Dead 2, we wouldn't get Army of Darkness.
Yeah, my favorite.
And it seems like, this was a real stepping stone for Sam and the guys, because they were inexperienced kids. They were sort of just trying to figure out what they wanted to do, pretty much. Mm-hmm. So this was their film that they had to start out with to move on to better horizons. If there's one scene that you really like, what would it be?
I don't know if there was a specific scene I really like. I generally just like the creepy atmosphere, and the soundtrack is really underrated as well, I think. But I think
A lot of which was done by Raimi, by the way.
But I think the thing I appreciate the most about this film is how it handles its low budget. Like, there was a movie we reviewed a while ago, Blair Witch Project, and I didn't like that one very much. I'm not even going to blame the low budget for that, because a $5 play about doing laundry for the whole production would have been a lot more interesting to watch. But it feels like it plays too safe with its budget, and that's the difference with The Evil Dead. It refuses to stand by its low budget and tries to keep kicking it down to present its story in all of its glory, even though it clearly doesn't succeed at times. It's kind of admirable to watch for it, and a little bit charming, like watching a 5-year-old kid try to cut the tree down all by himself.
With a chainsaw hand.
Yeah, when the sequels come around with more money.
This is also a movie that encouraged a lot of people to make low-budget horror movies.
Yeah, it's
Another example of a low-budget horror movie made around that decade would be Bad Taste by Peter Jackson.
The atmosphere definitely does make up for a lot, because the writing and acting in this film is, not great. The dumb teenagers...
Laughably
bad performances.
bastards, you dirty bastards.
What do you want from me?
He almost hit my fucking car, man! Speaking of which, that old lady telling other people to fuck off in the basement. You wouldn't really see scenes like that in modern day horror movies anymore.
Well, here's some little interesting facts you guys might not know, but that basement in the cabin, that wasn't real. That was when they bought the cabin, it didn't have a basement. So what they did, they actually dug a trench underneath the floorboards to create their own basement, pretty much.
And this was the...
And sometimes the actors, what they had to do was squat down to make it look like they were walking down the stairs.
And this was a real-life abandoned cabin, too, so I imagine that would have been pretty difficult to pull off.
And supposedly there was a murder that happened there or something.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect setting for it.
Exactly.
And this was a movie that was released theatrically unrated.
Really?
Yes.
Did not know that.
They had a lot of trouble with the censors boards about this film. They considered it immoral. It was a video nasty in England, apparently.
Yeah,
So,
that sadly does not surprise me. Knowing England's Europe in general's really strict laws and ratings.
England had a real thing, though. They had this moral panic, and because of films like that, and Last House on the Left, and I Spit on Your Grave, they were
Driller Killer.
Texas Chainsaw, all those films were considered too immoral, so they were considered video nasties, and they were banned in England for years.
And get this, it was the way that they got their budget in The Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Was how the Coen brothers got their budget for their first movie, Blood Simple.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. No way.
Blood Simple is going to be a future review.
Yeah,
I promise.
Hopefully.
We could do that.
Yeah.
But
It does come off as surprisingly grounded at times, despite some pretty hilariously dated practical effects and hands running around like there's
Oh, the claymation scene is probably my favorite scene.
Nah,
That's from
a sequel.
Evil
That's
Dead
from the
2.
sequel. Oh.
It's okay.
No, I'm talking about the claymation scene where they're
The
deteriorating.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I think the reason that they actually picked a cabin is because cabins have this sort of way of invoking loneliness or isolation.
Especially if they are decrepit and falling apart, it just adds that creepiness to it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Our sound.
Ollie's got a good point.
Ollie, guest starring Ollie Carter. All right. What are your final thoughts on the film, guys?
This is not my favorite of the franchise. My favorite has to be Evil Dead 2. But I can see why people think that this is an important horror movie. Why people would regard this as a classic. So I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10.
Okay, that's fair.
I think I'm gonna give this film a 7 out of 10. I still very much prefer Army of Darkness, though.
I'm gonna have to admit, I didn't know what to expect this film. I thought it was just like a piece of crap, low budget, exploitative junk. But I'll admit, I do like the fact that this film was basically a stepping stone for Sam Raimi's career and Bruce Campbell's career, everyone's career really. And this film helped to inspire basically a whole generation of horror geeks pretty much, and we got a lot out of it. We got some pretty good sequels, remakes, musical for some reason,
and some cereal for some reason.
Groovy.
Very groovy.
Yeah, it's just alphabet cereal, but it's only GROOVYs.
Join us.
What about those words from them?
and a board game with chess pieces made from the cabin's wood. Actually, I don't know, but. That's what I'm gonna say. I really do, like I say, like the isolation and the atmosphere of the film.
Of course.
And maybe the acting's not the best, and maybe the effects aren't the best, and I really don't like that tree scene, so I'm just gonna give it a 7 out of 10.
Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button if you haven't already. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button with the bell to get notifications. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And we're on Patreon, so if you like what we're doing, feel free to tip us some money. Give us some suggestions on what we should do for our next projects. Maybe some movie requests. Who knows? Or maybe watch a video. Maybe you can watch a series where Thomas cooks like crappy pastries.
Join us. That's all I can say.
Alright, I'll see you guys next time.
Adios.
Groovy.